The night everything changed, Sofia Martinez adjusted her worn cleaning uniform as she pushed the supply cart through the gleaming marble corridors of the Grand Crystal Hotel. At 24, she had grown accustomed to being invisible to the wealthy guests who frequented the luxury establishment. Night was different, though. Instead of cleaning empty conference rooms, she'd been assigned to work during the annual Metropolitan Children's Foundation Gala, one of the city's most exclusive charity events. The hotel's grand ballroom sparkled like a jewel box. Massive crystal chandeliers cast dancing rainbows across the polished floors, while elegantly dressed guests glided beneath towering arrangements of white orchids and golden roses. Sofia had never witnessed such opulence in her life. She had grown up in a modest apartment with her grandmother Rosa after losing her parents in a tragic accident when she was just 10 years old. "Sofia, I need your help tonight," called James Morrison, the hotel's head of security. He was a kind man in his 50s who had always treated the cleaning staff with respect, unlike some of the management. The coat check attendant called in sick and were understaffed. "Can you handle the coat check area? It's good overtime pay." Sofia nodded eagerly. The extra money would help cover her grandmother's diabetes medication that had become increasingly expensive. "Of course, Mr. Morrison. I won't disappoint you." "I know you won't, kid. You're one of our most reliable workers." He handed her a temporary name badge that read Sofia Guest Services. "Just smile, be polite, and remember these people tip well when treated right." As Sofia took her position near the ballroom entrance, she watched in amazement as the city's elite arrived. Women floated past in designer gowns that probably cost more than Sofia earned in 6 months, while men wore custom tuxedos and watches that gleamed like small suns. Sofia had borrowed a simple black dress from her neighbor for the evening. Though clean and pressed, she felt plainly dressed compared to the glamorous attendees. The evening progressed smoothly as Sofia efficiently organized the expensive coats and wraps. Most guests barely acknowledged her presence, treating her as part of the furniture. She didn't mind. Was used to being overlooked in the world of the wealthy. Around 9 o'clock, disaster struck. A group of well-dressed women approached the coat check area, led by Victoria Sterling. A blonde socialite in her early 30s, known throughout the city for her sharp tongue and cruel sense of humor. Victoria wore a stunning scarlet gown that hugged her figure perfectly, and diamonds sparkled at her throat and ears. "Oh my goodness, girls, look at this," Victoria announced loudly, pointing directly at Sofia. "They actually put the cleaning lady at the coat check. This is supposed to be a high-class event, not a charity case showcase." Sofia felt heat rise to her cheeks as the other women joined Victoria's laughter. She tried to maintain her composure, focusing on hanging up a fur coat with trembling hands. "I mean, seriously," Victoria continued, her voice carrying 2 nearby guests who began turning to watch the spectacle. "Look at that dress. Did she find it in a dumpster? And those shoes look like they belong in a museum of ancient history." The other women giggled cruelly as more guests stopped their conversations to observe the commotion. Sofia's hands shook as she reached for another coat hanger, wishing the marble floor would open and swallow her whole. "Maybe she's here to mop up after us," suggested another woman with a malicious smile. "That would make more sense than putting her in guest services." Just as Sofia felt tears beginning to form in her eyes, a deep, authoritative voice cut through the laughter like a blade. "Excuse me, ladies, is there a problem here?" Sofia looked up to see a tall, imposing man in an immaculately tailored black tuxedo approaching the group. He appeared to be in his mid-30s with dark hair, piercing green eyes, and the kind of commanding presence that made everyone in the vicinity pay attention. Even from a distance, Sofia could tell this was someone extremely important. Way other guests instinctively stepped aside. As he walked, spoke volumes about his status. Victoria's entire demeanor transformed instantly. Her cruel smile melted into a sweet, artificial expression as she recognized the newcomer. Julian Blackwood. "What a wonderful surprise," Victoria gushed, her voice suddenly dripping with honey. "We're just having a little discussion about service standards." Sofia's heart nearly stopped. Julian Blackwood was one of the most powerful men in the country. At 35, he had built a technology empire worth billions, and was regularly featured on magazine covers as one of the nation's most eligible bachelors. What was he doing here? And why was he involving himself in her humiliation? Icy green gaze swept over the group of women before settling on Sophia. For a moment, their eyes met, and Sophia felt something electric pass between them. His expression softened slightly as he took in her embarrassed state and the tears she was desperately trying to hold back. "I see," Julian said, his voice remaining calm but carrying an undertone that made everyone within earshot pay close attention. And what exactly about the service standards required such public commentary? The ballroom had grown noticeably quieter as word of the confrontation spread throughout the elegant space. An unexpected proposal the next morning? Sophia could barely focus on her regular cleaning duties at the hotel. She kept replaying the events from the gala, wondering if she had imagined Julian Blackwood's dramatic intervention. Like something from a dream too incredible to be real. Her small apartment in Queens felt even smaller after experiencing the grandeur of the Crystal Hotel ballroom. But the generous tips from the previous evening would help cover Rosa's medication for another month. And that made everything worthwhile. Rosa Martinez, Sophia's 72-year-old grandmother, noticed her granddaughter's distracted state over their simple breakfast of coffee and toast. The elderly woman had raised Sophia since she was 10, working multiple jobs until her health began declining 5 years ago. "Mia, you look like you've seen an angel," Rosa observed, setting down her coffee cup with slightly shaking hands. Diabetes had been getting progressively worse, and the medication costs continued to strain their already tight budget. "Something incredible happened at work last night, Abuela," Sophia said, still struggling to process it herself. "A very powerful man defended me when some wealthy women were being cruel to me. Then he gave me his business card." Rosa's weathered face brightened with interest. "A good man who stands up for others is precious. Mia, what's his name?" "Julian Blackwood." Rosa nearly choked on her coffee. Even she recognized that name from the television news. The billionaire Sophia. "Are you certain?" Sophia nodded, showing her grandmother the elegant business card with its thick paper and embossed lettering. The weight of it alone spoke of wealth and importance beyond anything she had ever held. "Be careful, Mia," Rosa warned gently, though. Her eyes sparkled with curiosity. Very rich men sometimes have complicated reasons for their kindness. 2 days later, Sophia's phone rang while she was scrubbing bathroom tiles at the hotel. Now, the caller ID showed a number she didn't recognize, but something made her answer despite being at work. "Miss Martinez. This is Patricia Webb, assistant to Julian Blackwood. Mr. Blackwood would like to invite you to lunch tomorrow at Meridian Restaurant on 5th Avenue. Would 1 p.m. work for you?" Sophia's heart raced. She had been wondering if Julian would actually contact her, and part of her had assumed the business card was just a polite gesture with no real intention behind it. "Yes, that would be perfect," Sophia managed to say, her voice barely steady. "Excellent. Mr. Blackwood is looking forward to speaking with you." The following afternoon, Sophia arrived at Meridian Restaurant 15 minutes early. She had chosen her best outfit, a simple navy dress and cardigan, and had spent extra time on her appearance. The restaurant was elegant, but not intimidating. With warm lighting and comfortable leather seating, Julian was already seated at a corner table, dressed casually in dark jeans and a crisp white shirt that probably cost more than Sophia's monthly rent. He stood when he saw her approaching, a gesture of respect that surprised and touched her. "Sophia, thank you for coming," he said, pulling out her chair. "I wasn't entirely sure you would accept the invitation. Thank you for inviting me," she replied, accepting the seat. "Though I'm still not sure why someone like you would want to have lunch with someone like me." Julian signaled the waiter before answering. "Someone like you? You mean someone genuine, hard-working, and kind? Those qualities are much rarer than you might think in my world," as they ordered. Sophia chose a simple salad while Julian requested the grilled salmon. She found herself studying his face in the afternoon light streaming through the restaurant windows. He looked younger and less intimidating than he had at the gala, with laugh lines around his eyes that suggested he wasn't always as serious as his public image implied. "Sophia, I'm going to be completely honest with you because I believe transparency is essential for any meaningful relationship," Julian began once their meals arrived. "I need your help with something unusual, and in return, I can offer you an opportunity that could transform your life." Sophia felt her stomach flutter with nervousness. What kind of help? Julian leaned forward slightly, lowering his voice despite the restaurant's ambient noise. I need a wife, not for love or romance, but for business purposes. My grandfather left a provision in his will that requires me to be married before my 36th birthday to inherit his controlling stake in Blackwood Industries. I have exactly 4 months left. Sophia nearly dropped her fork. I'm sorry, what? I know it sounds completely insane, Julian continued calmly, but I'm proposing a business arrangement, a marriage contract for 18 months. You would receive $300,000 up front, plus all living expenses, health care for both you and your grandmother, and another $300,000 when we divorce after the inheritance is secured. The numbers swirled in Sophia's head like leaves in a windstorm. $600,000. It was more money than she could earn in 15 lifetimes working cleaning jobs. Why me? She managed to ask. You could marry anyone. There must be dozens of women in your social circle who would accept immediately. Julian's expression grew. Thoughtful. That's exactly the problem. Women in my social circle would expect a real marriage. They'd want love, attention, a genuine future together. I can't provide those things. I'm completely dedicated to my work. Always have been. This arrangement would be honest from the beginning, a mutually beneficial contract with no false expectations. He paused, studying her reaction carefully. Also, after watching how you handled yourself at the gala, I know you have integrity. You won't try to manipulate the situation or demand more than we initially agree upon. You need the money for legitimate, honorable reasons, not luxury shopping or social climbing. Sophia's mind raced faster than her heart. The offer was beyond anything she had ever dreamed possible, but it also seemed too extraordinary to be real. How do you know I need money? She asked suspiciously. I had my assistant conduct some research, Julian admitted without any trace of apology. I know about your grandmother's medical expenses, your multiple jobs, your application to nursing school that you can't afford to pursue. I'm not trying to exploit your situation, Sophia. I'm trying to offer you a genuine way out of it. Julian reached into his jacket and extracted a manila folder. I had my lawyers prepare a preliminary contract. No romantic obligations beyond maintaining the appearance of marriage in public settings, separate bedrooms, separate personal lives for the most part. You'd need to attend social events with me when necessary, perhaps once or twice monthly. The rest of your time would be completely your own to pursue education. Spend time with your grandmother, whatever brings you happiness. Sophia opened the folder with trembling fingers. The legal language was complex and intimidating, but the financial terms were crystal clear and incredibly generous. Healthcare coverage for both her and Rosa, educational expenses fully covered, and a monthly allowance that exceeded her current annual income. Hey. This is overwhelming, she admitted, closing the folder carefully. Of course it is. Can you give me your answer by Monday? The legal processes are time-consuming, and my birthday deadline is absolutely firm. Julian reached across the table and gently touched her hand. The contact sent an unexpected surge of electricity up Sophia's arm, making her wonder if this purely business arrangement might become more complicated than either of them anticipated. Sophia, I know this is unconventional, but sometimes unconventional solutions are the only ones that actually work. You'd be helping me secure my company's future, and I'd be helping you secure yours and your grandmother's well-being. That evening, Sophia sat with Rosa in their tiny living room, explaining the incredible and surreal offer. Her grandmother listened without interruption, her experienced eyes growing more thoughtful as the story unfolded. Mia, this man is offering you everything we've ever prayed for, Rosa said finally. But marriage is sacred, even a business marriage. It changes you. Are you prepared for that transformation? Sophia had been wrestling with the exact same question all afternoon. I honestly don't know, Abuela. It would solve every single one of our problems. You could receive the best medical care available. I could attend school without working 3 exhausting jobs. But what happens if I develop real feelings for him? What if he never sees me as anything more than a very well-paid employee? Rosa, took her granddaughter's hands in her own weathered ones. Love is always a risk, Mia, whether it comes with a legal contract or not. The real question is, do you trust this man to treat you with genuine respect and kindness, even if he can never love you? Sophia thought about how Julian had defended her at the gala, how he had been completely honest about his motivations, and how he had treated her with more authentic respect in 2 conversations than many people showed her in months of daily interaction. I think I do trust him, she said slowly. Then perhaps you should take this leap of faith. Life rarely offers second chances like this one. The transformation of Heart's Monday morning arrived with unprecedented speed. Sophia had spent the weekend in deep contemplation, weighing every aspect of Julian's extraordinary proposal. She had researched everything available about Julian Blackwood, reading countless articles about his business practices, charitable donations, and professional reputation. Everything pointed to a man who was demanding but fair, successful but not ruthless in his dealings. She called the number on Julian's business card and arranged to meet him at his office in the towering Blackwood Industries building. The 45-story glass monument in downtown Manhattan was intimidating, but Sophia forced herself to walk confidently through the marble lobby and take the elevator to the executive floor. Julian's assistant, Tricia Webb, was a professional woman in her 50s, who greeted Sophia with surprising warmth and genuine kindness. "Mr. Blackwood has been quite anxious for your decision," Tricia said with a knowing smile, leading Sophia toward imposing double doors. "He's been unusually distracted since your lunch meeting." Julian's office perfectly matched Sophia's expectations of a billionaire CEO's workspace. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered breathtaking views of the city. Expensive furniture filled the space, and the walls displayed awards and photographs of Julian with various world leaders and celebrities. However, personal touches caught Sophia's attention. A photograph of an elderly couple who must have been his beloved grandparents, a small collection of vintage leather-bound books, and a well-used chess set that suggested he actually played regularly. Sophia, Julian said, rising from behind his massive mahogany desk. "Thank you for coming. Have you reached a decision?" Sophia took a deep breath, thinking of Rosa's mounting medical bills, her own deferred dreams of nursing school, and the genuine kindness Julian had shown her during their previous encounters. "Yes," she said with newfound confidence. "Accept your proposal." The relief that crossed Julian's handsome features was unmistakable and surprisingly touching. "Thank you. Promise. You won't regret this decision." The following 3 hours passed in a whirlwind of legal documents, detailed financial arrangements, and comprehensive practical planning. Julian's team of lawyers had prepared an incredibly thorough contract that protected both parties' interests. Meticulously, Sophia would move into Julian's penthouse apartment within 2 weeks. They would be married in an intimate civil ceremony in 6 weeks, followed by a larger reception for business associates and important social contacts. "We need to develop a believable backstory explaining how we met and fell in love," Julian explained as they reviewed the detailed timeline, "something that explains our rapid engagement, without raising too many suspicious questions from the media or business associates." "We could say we met at the charity gala," Sophia suggested. "That part is completely true. Perfect love at first sight, a whirlwind romance that swept us both off our feet. My grandfather always claimed he knew my grandmother was his soulmate. The moment he first saw her, people will find our story romantic and believable." As Sophia prepared to leave, Julian walked her personally to the elevator, an unusual gesture that didn't go unnoticed by his observant staff. "Sophia, I want you to understand that while this is fundamentally a business arrangement, I will treat you with the complete respect and consideration you deserve. You're taking an enormous risk by trusting me with this opportunity, and I don't take that responsibility lightly. Thank you, Julian. I believe you completely." As the elevator doors closed, Sophia caught her reflection in the polished metal. In less than 2 months, she would become Mrs. Julian Blackwood, wife to one of America's most powerful and influential men. The frightened, humiliated cleaning lady from the gala was about to transform into someone entirely different. 6 weeks later, Sophia stood in the bridal suite of the exclusive Riverside Country Club, wearing a stunning ivory silk gown that had cost more than her previous annual salary. The elegant dress perfectly complemented her natural beauty, and professional stylists had transformed her appearance into something worthy of a magazine cover. The civil ceremony had been intimate and beautiful, attended only by Rosa, Patricia, and a few of Julian's closest business associates. But tonight's reception would be Sophia's true debut into high society. With over 300 guests eager to meet the mysterious woman who had captured Julian Blackwood's heart. "You look absolutely radiant, Mrs. Blackwood," said Catherine Mills, the etiquette coach Julian had hired to prepare Sophia for navigating the complex world of elite social circles. The refined woman had spent 4 intensive weeks teaching Sophia everything from proper posture to sophisticated conversation techniques. "Still can't believe this is actually happening," Sophia admitted, smoothing the luxurious silk fabric nervously. "What if someone realizes I don't truly belong in this world?" "You belong wherever you choose to be, Sophia," Julian said from the doorway, looking devastatingly handsome in his perfectly tailored black tuxedo. Over the past weeks, Sophia had begun to genuinely appreciate his quiet strength, sharp intelligence, and surprisingly dry sense of humor. Their evening conversations over dinner in his penthouse had gradually become the absolute highlight of her days. "Are you ready to face our audience, Mrs. Blackwood?" Julian asked, offering his arm with a warm smile that made Sophia's heart flutter, in ways that had nothing to do with their business arrangement. She was definitely developing real feelings for her husband, a complication neither of them had anticipated or prepared for. The reception was in full magnificent swing when Sophia and Julian made their grand entrance as husband and wife. Photographer flashes sparkled like fireworks as they posed for pictures, Julian's arm possessively around Sophia's waist. To every observer, they appeared to be a couple deeply and genuinely in love. "Julian, darling." The familiar voice cut through the elegant crowd like a blade. Victoria Sterling approached them, resplendent in a designer emerald gown, her expression a carefully crafted mixture of surprise and barely concealed fury. "You simply must introduce me to your lovely new bride," Victoria continued, voice dripping with false sweetness while her eyes burned with unmistakable hatred. "Victoria, I'd like you to meet my wife, Sophia," Julian said smoothly, his arm tightening protectively around Sophia's waist. Sophia Victoria Sterling is a prominent figure in New York's social scene. Victoria's assessment of Sophia was swift, calculating, and filled with malicious intent. "What an absolutely lovely dress. Darling Valentino, isn't it? Certainly have exquisite taste for someone so young." Sophia had learned during her etiquette training that Valentino was one of the world's most prestigious fashion designers, but she simply smiled graciously instead of revealing her newfound knowledge. "Thank you, Victoria. Julian has wonderful taste in everything." Victoria's perfectly sculpted smile faltered slightly at Sophia's confident response. This was clearly not the frightened, easily intimidated cleaning lady she remembered humiliating at the charity gala. "How absolutely romantic that you two found each other at my favorite charity event," Victoria continued, her tone growing sharper. "Though I must admit, I don't recall seeing you there before that particular evening." "Sophia, do you attend many charity functions?" The question was clearly designed to expose Sophia's humble background and make her feel out of place among the sophisticated guests. However, Sophia had prepared for exactly this type of social warfare. "Actually, that was my first major charity gala," Sophia replied honestly, her voice steady and confident. "Julian taught me that everyone deserves a chance to contribute to causes bigger than themselves, regardless of their background. It's become one of my greatest passions." Julian looked down at Sophia with genuine admiration and something that looked remarkably like pride. "My wife has a natural gift for understanding what truly matters in life." Victoria's mask of politeness finally slipped completely. How wonderfully touching. Though I suppose some people are simply born knowing their proper place in society. The subtle insult hung in the air like poison, but before Sophia could respond, Julian stepped forward, his voice carrying the unmistakable authority that had built his billion-dollar empire. "You're absolutely right, Victoria. Some people are born understanding their place." Sophia was born understanding that a person's worth comes from their character, kindness, and integrity. Others seem to believe their worth comes from inherited money. cruel gossip, and tearing down people who threaten their fragile sense of superiority. I think we all know which type of person makes the world a better place, the nearby guests had grown quiet, sensing the tension and drama unfolding before them. Victoria's face flushed red with embarrassment and rage. Now, if you'll excuse us, Julian continued smoothly, my wife and I have many genuine friends to greet this evening. As they walked away, Julian leaned down to whisper in Sophia's ear, you were absolutely perfect. I'm genuinely proud of you. Sophia felt her heart soar at his words. Somewhere during their weeks of preparation and their evening conversations, their business arrangement had quietly transformed into something much deeper and more meaningful. Later that evening, as the last guests departed, and they stood alone on the terrace overlooking the moonlit gardens, Julian took Sophia's hands in his. Sophia, I need to tell you something important. This started as a business arrangement, but somewhere along the way, I fell completely in love with my wife. I know that wasn't part of our original contract, but I couldn't let another day pass without telling you the truth. Sophia felt tears of pure joy fill her eyes. Julian, I was terrified you'd never see me as anything more than a very well-paid employee. I've been in love with you for weeks. As Julian pulled her into his arms for their first real kiss, as a genuinely married couple, Sophia realized that sometimes the most unexpected encounters truly can lead to the most extraordinary possibilities. The frightened cleaning lady who had been mocked and ridiculed had not only found her prince, but had discovered that she was strong enough to become a queen in her own right.